What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Jackson, and I am going to level with you for a second. Right now, in early August, most gardeners are tired. We are sunburned, bug-bitten, behind on weeds, and frankly a little bit defeated. The summer garden wore us down, and we are ready to call it a season. I get it. I have felt that same feeling every August, going back more than a decade. But here is the part the tired gardener never hears. We are roughly 4 to 5 weeks away from the most beautiful weather of the entire gardening year, and what we decide to plant right now in August is the single biggest factor that separates the gardens that are loaded with food in October from the ones that are empty, brown, and gone to weed by Labor Day. I am going to show you the 5 crops I plant every single August without fail, the varieties I trust, and exactly when to start each one based on whether your first frost lands in October or whether you are one of the lucky ones that gets to garden all the way into November or December. Stay with me until the end because I am going to give you the complete cheat sheet of every seed I am personally starting in my August garden this year, with direct variety names, so you can copy it almost word for word in your own backyard. As a frame of reference, I garden in the lower Midwest, but it does not matter where I live and it does not matter where you live, because all 5 crops on this list are either frost-tolerant, freeze-tolerant, or both. They are not going to be killed by a single cold night. That is the entire point. I am not asking you to gamble on tomatoes in September. I am asking you to plant things that thrive when everything else has called it quits. Before we get into the crops, let me set the calendar math one more time, because this is where most August plantings go wrong. Every crop on this list has a days to maturity number on the back of the seed packet. Your job is to subtract that number from your average first frost date. Whatever date you land on is your personal deadline for starting that crop from seed. If your deadline is August 15th, you need to start counting now. If your deadline is August 25th, you have a little more runway, but the runway closes every single day. The point is not to plant everything today. The point is to plant the right things on the right day, and I am going to tell you exactly when that is for each of the 5 crops coming up. I am also going to break every recommendation into 2 bins throughout the video. People whose first frost lands in October, that means zones 3, 4, 5, and the colder half of zone 6, and people whose first frost lands in November or December, that is zones 7, 8, 9, and 10. If you live somewhere that essentially does not get frost, you are in the second bin, and you have even more flexibility. Keep your bin in mind as I go through each crop, because the timing shifts based on how much fall weather you actually get. Crop number 1, the big guns of the fall garden, are brassica transplants. I am talking about broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, kale, collards, kohlrabi, bok choy, Brussels sprouts, romanesco, mustard greens, mizuna, the entire cabbage family. These are the crops you see in October farmers markets that look like they came from a magazine cover, and they all get started indoors right now in August. They are not direct sown because the heat and the pest pressure in early August will hammer seedlings that are too small to defend themselves. So we start them inside under a cheap shop light or a 4-foot LED in cell trays filled with seed starting mix, and we transplant them out 4 to 6 weeks later when the worst of the summer heat breaks. Here is exactly how to do it. Fill your cell trays with a fresh bag of seed starting mix. Use a chopstick to make a 1/4-inch divot in each cell. Drop in 2 or 3 seeds per cell to account for spotty germination. Lightly press the soil down with your finger. Water the cells in with 2 or 3 gentle passes so you do not dislodge the seeds. The seeds germinate in 5 to 7 days. By 4 weeks you have sturdy transplants that are ready to harden off. By 6 weeks they are ready for the garden. For folks in the October frost bin, you want to start brassicas indoors this week, or no later than August 10th, transplant them out in early September, and harvest them through mid to late October before your hard freezes become routine. For folks in the November and December frost bin, you have a little more breathing room. Start brassicas indoors around August 20th, transplant them out in mid to late September once the heat has broken, and harvest them from October all the way through December with a row cover. Once your brassicas are in the ground, you have 3 decisions to make. The first is pest pressure. Even in fall, cabbage moths, cabbage loopers, and flea beetles will find your kale. The cheapest, most effective fix is to throw a piece of lightweight insect netting over the entire bed from day 1. It lets sunlight, rain, and air flow through, but it stops the moths from laying eggs on the leaves. You will be amazed how much healthier your crop is if you just put up a barrier. The second decision is heat. If you are in the south and your September is still hitting the 90s, Throw some 30% shade cloth over the bed until the daytime highs settle into the 80s. The third decision is frost. Brassicas are incredibly cold hardy. Broccoli, kale, and collards can take temperatures down to 15 degrees with a row cover, but they handle cold better when they are mature, so get them out early enough to establish. If a freak early frost hits before they have put on size, cover them. If they are full grown when the first frost comes, they will shrug it off without a thing. A few variety notes worth your money. For broccoli, Gypsy is my go-to because it tolerates the temperature swings of late summer transplanting better than almost anything else on the market. For cabbage, Tiara produces a tight, dense head in about 63 days, which makes it work in colder October frost zones where every day counts. For kale, Lysano, also called dinosaur kale, is the variety if you want a single planting that holds in your garden all the way through December. For collards, Georgia Southern is the old standard for a reason. It is virtually indestructible. For cauliflower, the colored varieties like cheddar and graffiti are fun, but stick to a fast-maturing white type if you are in the October frost bin. Skip Romanesco in cold zones. It takes too long. Crop number 2 on the list is peas. Snap peas, snow peas, and shelling peas, the whole family. Peas are fantastic in August because they germinate fast in warm soil, they do not need to be started indoors, and they grow like weeds once they break ground. You direct sow them, water them, and about 60 days later you are picking pods off the vine, in the coolest, most comfortable weather of the year. Timing for peas is everything. If you are in the October frost bin, you want to direct sow peas in the ground around August 1st, no later than August 10th. They take about 60 to 70 days to mature, so you want them coming into harvest in late September and early October, ahead of your first hard frost. If you are in the November or December frost bin, you can wait until the back half of August, anywhere from August 15th to August 25th. The reason is that you do not want the peas to start flowering during the worst of the heat. Peas that mature in cool nights are sweeter, more tender, and more productive than peas that mature during a heat wave. Sowing is simple. Make a hole about an inch deep with your finger. Drop in 1 or 2 seeds per hole. Space bush types 2 to 3 inches apart. Vining types 4 to 6 inches apart. Cover them up, water them in, and keep the soil moist for 7 to 10 days until you see green. Once they are up, they go fast. The 2 issues you have to manage are pests and frost. Birds and squirrels love to dig up pea seedlings, so the moment your peas start germinating, throw that same lightweight insect netting over the row until the plants are 6 inches tall and the critters leave them alone. On the frost side, pea plants themselves are extremely cold tolerant. The problem is the pods. If a hard frost forms directly on the pods, they can crack and get damaged. So if you see a late season frost in the forecast, throw a 1.5-ounce row cover over the peas the night before. Take it off the next day, and you are back in business. Variety picks for August sown peas. Snap peas give you the most reward per square foot because you eat the whole pod, and the harvest window is longer than shelling types. Cascadia is the snap pea I plant every single year, because it matures in 60 days, holds its quality on the vine, and the vines are compact enough that you do not need a 6-foot trellis to keep them off the ground. For shelling peas, Lincoln is the heirloom workhorse. For snow peas, Oregon sugar pod is dependable and fast. Whatever you plant, set up your trellis before you sow, not after, because once peas are up you do not want to disturb the root zone. A simple option is a sheet of cattle panel attached to T-posts, which gives the vines something to climb and lets air move through the middle of the row, cutting down on fungal issues in the wet parts of fall. Crop number 3 is romaine lettuce, and I am specifically talking about the romaine, cause, or upright heading varieties. Romaine does something special in the fall that it basically refuses to do in the spring. In spring, romaine wants to bolt and turn bitter the moment a single hot week hits. In fall, with cool nights and shortening days, the plant puts all of its energy into dense, sweet, buttery heads that you cannot buy at any grocery store at any price. Start your romaine indoors in cell trays, just like you did the brassicas. 1/4-inch divot, 3 or 4 seeds per cell because lettuce germination is famously unreliable. Light soil cover, gentle watering. They germinate in 5 to 7 days, and they are ready to transplant out in 4 to 5 weeks for the October frost bin, or 4 to 6 weeks for the November and December frost bin. Same general rule as the brassicas. Get them in the ground when the worst of the August heat has broken, mulch them lightly, and water consistently for the first 10 days until they are established. Where romaine differs from the brassicas is frost tolerance. Romaine is more frost tolerant than freeze tolerant. A light frost will actually improve the flavor, but a hard frost, or a sustained freeze, will damage the outside leaves and can ruin the head if it is fully exposed. So the rule is simple: when your first hard frost is in the forecast, throw a row cover over the bed. The cover prevents frost from forming directly on the leaves, and your romaine will sail through nights down into the low 20s without a mark. I have personally picked romaine out of my garden on Thanksgiving morning after a night in the upper teens with a row cover, and the heads looked like I had just bought them at the store. That is one of the most underrated moments of the gardening year, and you can put it on your calendar right now if you commit to planting in August. A second trick with fall romaine is succession. Do not plant your entire bed the same week. Plant a quarter of the bed today, another quarter in 7 days, another quarter in 14 days, and the last quarter in 21 days. That staggers your maturity window, so you are not harvesting 40 heads of romaine in the same week. You will pull fresh, sweet heads from the garden continuously from late September into November without ever being overwhelmed. It is the single best way to avoid the romaine glut problem. If you want a tried and true variety, plant Romaine Giant Caesar. It produces dense, tall, dark green heads that take about 70 days from transplant, holds quality in the garden for weeks once mature, and the flavor in cool weather is unmatched. For baby leaf harvests, where you cut the leaves at 3 to 4 inches tall and let the plant regrow, plant a loose leaf type alongside your romaine. You will get a salad mix out of the same bed. Crop number 4 is a 2-4, cucumbers and zucchini. I know what you are thinking. Cucumbers and zucchini are summer crops. We started them in May. Why would I plant them in August? Here is why. Both of these crops ripen 40 to 60 days from seed. They are some of the fastest producing vegetables in your entire garden, and the pest pressure that hit them in May and June, squash bugs, vine borers, cucumber beetles, is mostly done by the back half of August. A late planting slips past almost all of it. For the October frost bin, you have time for one more wave. Direct sow cucumbers and zucchini right now in the first 10 days of August. They will germinate in 3 to 5 days because the soil is warm, grow like crazy, and start producing fruit in 5 to 6 weeks. You will be picking cucumbers and zucchini all the way through September and into early October, with less pest pressure than your spring planting ever had. For the November and December frost bin, you actually have time for 2 more waves. Direct sow one round in early August, another round in mid-September, and you keep the harvest going until frost finally shuts them down. Direct sowing cucumbers and zucchini is the easiest thing in this whole video. Poke a hole an inch deep with your finger, drop 1 or 2 seeds in, cover them up, water them in. In 3 to 5 days you have seedlings. They take off from there. The trick is variety selection. Pick the fastest maturing cultivars you can find. Anything 55 days or less is perfect for August. Otherwise, the plants will not have time to produce before frost. One note about pollination. Late-season cucumbers and zucchini sometimes struggle because the pollinator population thins out in the fall. If you see lots of flowers but no fruit setting, get out there in the morning with a small paintbrush and hand pollinate. Take pollen from the male flower and dab it inside the female flower. 3 seconds of work per flower, you will get cucumbers again. For cucumbers, pick a parthenocarpic variety if you can find one. Parthenocarpic means the plant sets fruit without pollination at all, which makes pollinator scarcity a non-issue. Merlin and Party Time are 2 that perform well in late plantings. For zucchini, Dunya is the only variety I plant because it resists powdery mildew longer than any other open pollinated type, and powdery mildew is the disease that shuts down late-season squash plants. If you have been burned by mildew before, switching to Dunya alone will change your September harvest. One more note, late-season cucumbers and zucchini have a different water requirement than the spring planting. The soil is warmer, the plants are smaller when they go in, and the sun is still strong. Water daily for the first 7 to 10 days after direct sowing, then back off to every other day once the plants are established and spreading out. Mulch lightly to keep the root zone cool. That is the routine that carries a late-planted cucurbit from seed to harvest in August without skipping a beat. Crop number 5 is a split recommendation. Onions if you are in zone 7 or warmer. Carrots and beets if you are in zone 6 or colder. I am going to explain both, and one of them is going to fit your garden perfectly. Starting with onions, I am talking bulbing onions, not green onions. Bulbing onions need about 8 to 10 weeks from seed to transplant size. which is why this is the one crop on the list you really cannot delay. If you are in zone 7 or warmer, start onion seeds indoors right now in early August, in trays or large pots, because onion seedlings are tougher than they look and they do not mind being pulled apart at transplant time. Sprinkle the seeds on the surface of your seed starting mix, cover them with a 1/4 inch of mix, water them in, and put them under lights. They germinate in 7 to 10 days. They will be ready to transplant out in 8 to 10 weeks, which puts you in the garden in late September or early October. Once they are in the ground, run a row cover over them through the winter, and they will be fine. In zone 7 and warmer, you can grow bulbing onions through the entire winter and harvest them in late May and early June, which is earlier than you ever thought possible. Now for carrots and beets, the answer for everyone in zone 6 or colder. Carrots and beets are cold hardy root crops that get sweeter the colder it gets. The starches in the root convert to sugars as temperatures drop, and a fall carrot that has seen frost is one of the most remarkable things you will ever taste. Plant them now in August. They are direct sown only, because transplanting root crops almost always produces deformed, kinked roots that are not worth the effort. For carrots, my go-to variety is Nantes. It matures in about 70 days, it does not need deeply prepared soil the way an Imperator type does, and the flavor in cool weather is exactly what you want from a fall carrot. Direct sow a generous amount because carrot seed is small and germination is unreliable. I plant a row 2 inches wide rather than a single line, because the wider row lets me thin aggressively without wasting seed, and the harvest per square foot ends up higher. Cover the seed with a 1/4 inch of screened compost, water daily for 10 days, and do not let a crust form on the soil surface. A board or a piece of burlap over the row for the first 5 days keeps the moisture consistent and dramatically improves your germination rate. You will see the first feathery tops in 7 to 10 days. Remove the cover the moment you see green, and the seedlings take off from there. For beets, Detroit Dark Red is the classic for a reason. It is reliable, fast, and the flavor improves dramatically after a frost. Direct sow them 1/2 inch deep, 3 to 4 inches apart, and you will have baby beets to pull in 55 days and full-size roots in 70. Mulch them once they are 4 inches tall, keep them watered through August, and watch them thrive as the weather cools. That is a beet planting you will be pulling in October, in November, and if you are in zone 7 or warmer, straight through December. Beets also give you a bonus. The greens are just as good as the roots. You can start cutting baby beet greens 3 to 4 weeks after sowing, and they are excellent raw in salads or sautéed with garlic. For carrots, my go-to variety is Nantes. It matures in about 70 days, it does not need deeply prepared soil the way an Imperator type does, and the flavor in cool weather is exactly what you want from a fall carrot. Direct sow a generous amount because carrot seed is small and germination is unreliable. I plant a row 2 inches wide rather than a single line because the wider row lets me thin aggressively without wasting seed, and the harvest per square foot ends up higher. Cover the seed with a 1/4 inch of screened compost, water daily for 10 days, and do not let a crust form on the soil surface. A board or a piece of burlap over the row for the first 5 days keeps the moisture consistent and dramatically improves your germination rate. You will see the first feathery tops in 7 to 10 days. Remove the cover the moment you see green, and the seedlings take off from there. Now let me give you the August gardening rules of the road, because execution is everything when you are trying to thread this needle between late summer heat and fall frosts. Rule 1. Harden off your transplants. Do not skip this. A brassica or romaine seedling that has spent its entire life under a grow light is not ready for full sun, full wind, and the temperature swings of the outdoor garden. Put them outside for an hour on day 1, 2 hours on day 2, 4 hours on day 3. Add an hour a day for a full week, and then plant them out. This single act prevents transplant shock and gets you established plants a full week ahead of where you would otherwise be. Rule 2. Use covers religiously. A shade cloth over the bed for the first week after transplant, an insect netting for the first month, a 1.5-ounce row cover from the first frost forward. These 3 pieces of fabric are not optional luxury items. They are the difference between a real fall garden and a list of things you meant to plant. Rule 3. Water like it matters, because in August it does. Transplants need daily water for the first week. Direct sown beds need twice-a-day water until germination. Once plants are established, back off. Cool nights and shorter days mean the soil stays moist longer than it did in July. Overwatering in fall is how you invite rot, fungal disease, and slug pressure you do not want. Rule 4. Count backward from your frost date. Every crop on this list came with a days to maturity number. Put a piece of tape on your seed packet with that number written on it. Put a calendar reminder on your phone. Whatever system works for you, write down the deadline so you do not lose track. Rule 5. Do not let the weeds win. August weeds go to seed in September, and every weed that sets seed in your garden is 10,000 weeds you will be fighting next July. A quick 20-minute walk through the beds every week to pull what is bolting is the cheapest, most effective garden work you can do all year. Rule 6. Succession plant the quick crops. Lettuce, radishes, beets, and bush beans can all be planted in waves every 2 weeks through August. That stagger gives you a continuous harvest from September through November, rather than one giant harvest that overwhelms you in week 2. The mistake most new fall gardeners make is the same mistake new spring gardeners make. They plant everything at once, and they spend the next 3 weeks trying to eat, store, or give away more food than they ever wanted. Solve it before it starts by planting small successions rather than one massive planting block. I want to close this out with the single most important thing I can tell you about August gardening, and it is not about crops. It is about your own headspace. Summer gardening beats you up. The heat exhausts you, the bugs exhaust you, the weeds exhaust you. By the time August rolls around, your brain is telling you to walk away from the garden for the rest of the year. That voice is wrong. The voice is seasonal depression setting in. The voice is the same voice that makes you stop doing the things that keep you grounded once the days get short. The garden is the cure for that voice. Not all by itself. Nothing cures everything all by itself. But a fall garden gives you somewhere to walk every morning. It gives you a thing to check on after work. It gives you harvests in October and November, when every other garden on the block is empty. And it gives you a reason to be outside in the cold, crisp, blue sky afternoon of late October, picking kale and carrots, when you would otherwise be sitting inside wishing you had a reason to be outside. Plant the August garden. It is the cheapest mental health prescription on the market, and the copay is a packet of seeds. That is the video, gardeners. I'm Jackson, and I genuinely want to thank you for spending the next 12 minutes of your day with me. If this got you thinking about your fall garden for the first time this season, hit the thumbs up button. It tells YouTube that this kind of content is worth showing to more people, and it directly helps the channel reach the gardeners who need this information most. If you are not subscribed yet, now is the time. Hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you do not miss the next one. If there is a crop you plant every August that I did not mention, drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and I usually build the next video out of what the community tells me they want to see. All of the specific seed varieties I mentioned, the row cover, the shade cloth, the seed starting trays, the grow lights, the insect netting, every product I personally use is linked down in the description below. Take what helps you and leave the rest. Now go plant something. The window is open, the window is closing, and 6 weeks from now, when you are picking brassicas in October and your neighbors are staring at an empty bed, you will be glad you did the work today. I will see you in the next one. This is Jackson, and I will talk to you soon.